This is day 62. It is Thursday, October the 16th, 2025. This is the second video of when I'm talking about the young woman, or sorry, the friend of my, the aunt of my friend that I seen at the gym this morning. She kind of looked me up and then looked me down, and I could see like a look of disgust on her face. And then the young man that I know, he was moving a contraption that he had on the Smith machine, and I realized he was in close proximity, so he could smell any odors that were on me, and I became hypersensitive. And then I was just talking about in my former place. So the former place where I was at, when I had my own place, I was able to. I was very cognizant of this. So especially like going to work. So anyways, first and foremost, my house had to smell really good. It always had to be presentable, so if anybody came over, even for an unannounced visit, they would feel not only comfortable, the spiritual atmosphere was comfortable, but also the scent was comfortable and not repugnant. And but also too, when I went to work, that was one thing that I want to do out of respect for my colleagues, is to make sure I always had freshly washed socks, underwear, shirts, pants, and also that I was using, scented soap. And as I mature and as I grow and as I learn, I want to use scented soaps with natural ingredients and no chemicals that are harmful. So anyways, but I want to make sure that I have a sweet smelling fragrance. And the main thing of this is part of me giving the best to God is to do the best I can to be considerate of the people around me, and to love and care for the people around me, which has to do with like the way I smell and the way I look. Going to the gym, I would like to have 2 or 3 different pairs of gym clothes, and and I'd rather have better shoes, but I have no finances. It's not on the priority right now, so I don't have the finances for it in this moment. So the first thing I learned from this is, these judgments are going to happen. They take place, and when somebody's doing it, they might not realize how much, like when they're looking you up and down, first you can follow their eyes to where they're looking, but when you see their reaction, they might not realize how much their reaction is transparently revealed in their expression. And so like they're processing, and you can virtually see what they're processing and how much of an impact that has on others. The second thing is, there's always going to be background information that is omitted. So whenever you make a snap judgment, you're just making a judgment on what you see in that moment, not the cause to the effect that you see in that moment, or not all the steps in sequence, or the sequential steps that led to that moment. And so for the person who's going through it, you have a more fuller version of the story. And but you also realize, snap judgments can turn into people's appraisals. People's appraisals can then morph into a reputation, and a reputation can precede you, and reputations can take a long time to dissipate or to be changed. So then I can learn to allow people room to grow, to make mistakes, do something embarrassing, and then correct that mistake and learn from it and grow. And I never want to hinder that on somebody else and in their life, and I don't want that to be hindered in my life. I can also have the consideration that people are working off what they have access to. If they only have access to what they're currently seeing, well, that is all the information that they have to work with. So that is, virtually where their assertions are going to be derived from. So there's a lot to learn from that, especially regarding our assertions, and how it's wise to collect as much information as possible, and continue to collect as much information as possible, and to look from different vantage points, and to try and see things through the perspective of others, and then to make to ensure that your opinions or your thoughts are pulling from multiple sources with increasingly larger sample sizes, so you can have a more holistic and a more realistic, opinion that might be closer and closer and nearer to the actuality of what's taking place. And then for the person on the other side, it does hurt. it can feel very awkward. But we always say, it's a cliche in our society, but it's rife with a lot of truth. But the opinions of others is none of my business. The judgments of others is none of my business. My business is to do what is pleasing in God's sight. I desire to not be somebody who's, is it unkempt? I'm not sure if that's the correct word. I'll have to check that up in the dictionary when I get home, but, or to have an odor to me. But at the same time, I also want to be respectful to the house and to I don't want to be wasteful with the utilities, and I don't want to take advantage of anything. So right now I'm just in a predicament where, I don't have the luxury or the leniency to just do a load of laundry at my leisure and, to buy, to toss out these shoes, these funky shoes that have trampled all over pickleball courts, outdoor pickleball courts, or to, have a bigger repertoire of clothing. So, and also too, I did the video this morning and I just got up and left. I couldn't find my gym shorts, and that I was just thinking, it's early in the morning. These shorts are going to do. I'm just doing chest anyway, so it's bench press and some of these exercises. It's comfortable. To somebody else, I've noted that people can be very finicky about many things, and I noted when I used to wear, I think they're called modrobes, or they're just basically like pajama pants. Apparently, a lot of people took offense to that, and they I didn't find this out till later, but they think things or say things like, "Why does this man wear his pajamas to the gym?" Because they're comfortable. Okay. Anyways, so there's a lot to learn even from that, like why I don't want to major on the minors. If somebody feels comfortable wearing pajama pants to the gym, I think the convention of like umbro, string tied shorts, that's arbitrary. That is, it doesn't mean it's wrong. Actually, I think it's right, but it also doesn't disclude, pajama pants from being also like a very functional and a relevant piece of gym clothing, just because it's not yet commonly accepted. So anyway, so there's a lot to learn from this. But one of the biggest things is I don't want to be ruled by my insecurities. So I find I'm learning to be very forgiving and merciful to myself. So this is where I'm at, but this is not going to be where I'm going to be in the future. I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to learn all the proper details from this and apply them. It's going to be difficult to apply because there's a reason why they're not applied by everybody. But I will do this. And when I move forward, I'm going to have deeper levels of gratitude and appreciation for the things that I have, the luxuries that are so easily and commonly taken for granted. And I don't want to take anything for granted. I want to be very appreciative for all the things that I have and all the things that I'm blessed with. And lastly too, I can pray for others, and but also I'll understand, it's easy to see somebody maybe acting in a way that I don't deem acceptable, or dress in a way that I don't deem acceptable. But it's wise to take a moment and say, well, there probably is more information to this than I'm privy to. And just that little bit of consideration can, reveal a whole lot of mercy and a whole lot of compassion. And so that's very important. These are really good learning lessons. And and these things are part of our reality. And so anyway, so with the BVP, so the barrier for the vulnerable population, this can be exposed as a barrier. Somebody who's part of the vulnerable population, they might not have the access to washing their clothes as others would. They might even have a washer and a dryer at the place they're living, but they might not feel comfortable to use them all the time, or to even use them infrequently. They might lack laundry detergent. There's many different things. So those are questions you'd have to get answers to, answers you'd have to ask the appropriate questions to. And also too, they're doing the best they can. And if they're lacking something, look for ways to help, and ways to help resolve these issues while they're in a situation where they're unable to address these situations themselves, and then that behavior can be modeled. And I find yeah, there's a lot to learn from this, a lot of good things to be derived from this. And lastly, in terms of insecurities, I won't allow myself to be insecure, because this is something that's addressed. It's noted in my mind, and it will be addressed when I'm able to address it. And I'm going to address it as best I can. And even, you know, I can take more time to find my gym shorts and to bring them. But also, I don't want to be ruled by my insecurities. If I'm ruled by my insecurities, it will impact my attitude. Meaning, I'll notice that, like the way my friend's aunt looked at me, then I can instantly feel offended. And if I'm offended, if I'm offended, then then all of a sudden that's going to impact the way I treat her, whether it's unconsciously or subconsciously. If I'm offended, then it's going to impact the way I feel. So if I feel uncomfortable in a social setting, it's easy to blame everybody else, but it's very difficult, yet wise, to look first internally and ensure that I don't have any judgments on others or myself. Even if I have a judgment on myself, that is going to hinder any ability for me to feel comfortable in a social setting. So if I constantly fumble with my words and feel maybe intimidated and feel, I'm using the air quotes, antisocial, it could have a lot more to do with me being ruled by insecurities that I haven't yet sought and identified and resolved. So part of the resolution to this is I have to accept this is where I'm at. This is I don't own the house. I can't, that smell is there until I'm out of there, in a place where I have the ability to make these changes. This is part of it, so I have to work around it and do the best I can with what I have. And so I have to cut myself a little bit of slack for the things that I'm unable to control. But yeah, in terms of insecurities, if I have them, I should be addressing them and having them remedied immediately. That's part of personal growth, and it's part of my commitment to Jesus, is to keep seeking the truth and walking step in step with the truth, and allowing the freedom that He's provided to bring me to freedom. Freedom from opinions, not just of others and judgments of others, but also opinions and judgments of myself, that can often sneak in through insecurities and act like little punctures in the bottom of a boat that cause the external elements to seep into and flood the area that's within. So anyhow, I'm delighted to share this. I'm very pleased and happy to share this, and I'm about to go in to the place where I'm at, and I'm going to have a nap. So God bless you.